Hello everyone and welcome back to SK1 and we're back again with another live streaming right here, and we'll be discussing again and try to answer various questions about physics and mathematics maybe. So let's see, like maybe there's someone here. All right, so there's Jai Singh, IIT Kharagpur. Hi. 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 Yatindra Sharma. Hi. Hi. Daraksha Mustafa. Hi. Hi. Jai Singh, IIT Kharagpur. Love from IIT KGP. Well, thank you. There's no actual question coming up here. Yatindra Sharma, you are very intelligent in physics. You must be a physicist. Well, not right now. SRK fan club. Bro, किस एग्जाम के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहे हो? Well, I'm not preparing for any exam. Right now, मैं किसी एग्जाम के लिए नहीं प्रिपेयर कर रहा हूँ. It's all just physics. My brother is JEE 2027 aspirant. What do you suggest him to focusing on which chapters? Jai Singh, IIT Kharagpur. Now, JEE 2027 means he must be in class 9th right now. And I wouldn't really advise a class 9 student to just start preparing for IIT. The thing is that when you're preparing for IIT, you're narrowing yourself down to some sort of syllabus, and you're having a very narrow vision right here. द थिंग इज कि जब आप आईआईटीज के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहे हो, आप जैसे आपने पूछा कि कौन से चैप्टर्स पे फोकस करना चाहिए. सो इफ ही वर इन 11th and 12th, so that is when he has to actually prepare the syllabus and तब वो एक्चुअल में उस चैप्टर्स पे फोकस करता है. बट व्हेन इज इन 9th right now and he hasn't gotten into his time yet, so the thing is he should try to develop his vision and rather try to develop his intelligence rather than just focusing on some sort of competitive examination. Like if he wants to go for Olympiad, well, yes, then go for an Olympiad. But you still have time for IITs, right? So why not just develop your intelligence in the meantime? And it is like if you want to cut down a tree and maybe you have been given 8 hours for that, so spend the first 6 hours sharpening your axe, and you have 2 hours for cutting down the tree if you have an axe sharp enough. So you see कि आप अपनी इंटेलिजेंस डेवलप करने की कोशिश करो. आपको फिजिक्स पढ़ने है, so try to view it from a broad perspective, imagining how you can use different methods to tackle the same problem, and to focus on very since 4 साल अभी भी हैं, so to focus on very specific chapters at this time is something that I would not recommend. When he gets down to 11th and 12th, or maybe if it was an 11th or 12th aspirant maybe, then I would say that you need to focus on specific chapters or you cannot make it due to the lackness of time. But he has plenty of time. He can study the topics in broad and their depth according to the varying degrees of interest and still make it, and will make it if he does these things properly. Krishiv Gupta, why didn't you get into IIT? Well, I'm in ninth standard right now, so you get the idea why I don't get into IIT. How to understand concepts of physics study club? Well, the key to understanding the concepts of physics is again how much time you're devoting to that particular thing and how much passion you carry for that particular thing. And the thing is that it can't be done by just reading the thing. क्योंकि जब आप कुछ पढ़ते हो, when you're reading something, you're trying to make yourself familiar with that particular concept. And when you reread that thing over and over again, मान लो मैंने कोई भी particular problems solve करने की कोशिश किया, so I take a really complicated method. मान लो there is this method called variational method that is often used for solving problems in like electrodynamics. तो अगर मैंने variational method का एक paragraph पढ़ा, and when I read that paragraph, I thought that yeah, this is quite the method that this might be useful. Then what I do is I reread that paragraph or maybe that entire section on variational method, and I do it again and I do it again, and मैं से over and over read करता हूँ. Then I realize that yeah, now I have gotten it into my head, and then I realize कि हाँ, अब मुझे ये method समझ आ गया. But the thing is that you have only made yourself familiar with variational method. By just reading and rereading the paragraphs, you might think कि मुझे समझ आ गया, but you have made yourself familiar with that thing, but you haven't understood it yet. What do you need to do in order to understand it? Well, you need to use variational method in electromagnetism. And unless you use it, you won't know about how things go. Everything happens in this particular kind of method. कौन से difficulties आपको आ सकती हैं and उन difficulties को कैसे tackle करेंगे. So you need to use these methods and apply them to problems. Maybe problems, of course, problems are a big part of they are a big deal because you do need to solve problems in order to understand what's truly going on. So you need to solve problems. You need to try to explain it to someone. Maybe try to think of simple ways जिससे आप उसी चीज को किसी और को explain कर सकते हो. That is the thing you need to do. So you need to solve problems on that. Try think of ways you could possibly explain that to something and try to view things from that perspective. कैसे आप उस method को कहीं भी daily life में apply कर सकते हो. So I'm picking up a box maybe, so I can instantly think of F equals ma right here. That is, so I understand F equals ma there. If I can know that there's this force going in the upward direction which I'm exerting, gravity is in downward and all this thing. So that is what you need to do. Try to imagine how things work by that method. Use them for problems, of course. And you need to familiarize with this, of course. Try to explain it to someone in a simple language. Indie gaming, are there any challenges or obstacles you're facing that you'd like to discuss? Oh, well, right now, if I were to say any challenges or obstacles that I'm facing, I can't get in my head right now any obstacle that I'm facing right now, not in physics. Of course, in mathematics, you come across so many integrals or differential equations you can't solve. Any physics obstacle that I'm facing right now, no, I cannot think of it. रॉनी साइम आइंस्टाइन फील्ड इक्वेशंस के डेरिवेशन कब डाल रहे हो जल्दी बताओ भाई जल्दी well maybe soon right now there's a lot of content going on about quantum mechanics so regarding relativity so maybe soon I'll upload the derivation on Einstein field equations. Jai Singh, IIT Kharagpur, are there any massless particles? Well, massless particles, you see, photons are massless particles. Very close to that, you might have neutrinos, but again, they're not practically massless. So, photons are the answer. Photons, that's the answer. And graviton is said to be massless in case it exists, which I think it should. Aruna Patil, do you get doubts and how do you clear them? Well, the first question, that do you get doubts, I think doesn't even make sense, because the you see the very definition of doubt, how do you even define it? Okay, there is some sort of misconception, or maybe you're studying something, or maybe you're not properly able to comprehend something. So at the first glance, when we are learning something, we are obviously not able to comprehend at least a part of it, at least a part of it, or of course more than that, practically speaking. So how do you clear them? Well, that's the question, because everyone gets doubt. So how do you clear doubts is, maybe try spending a little more time on that, greater than usual maybe. And if in case you're not able to do that, just leave it aside and maybe work on some other problems. And when you are working on other problems, at some point you might strike that, yeah, this is something that I could probably use in that problem, and you go there and maybe you can solve it. So try to, right, you can kind of think of it as like this: you have doubts, you want to solve them. Even when you're not trying to solve them, as long as you have it in mind, you still think of it subconsciously maybe, and you might suddenly approach at the solution sometimes. Just saying, IIT Kharagpur, can light bend around corners? Well, yeah, light can bend around corners. Light can definitely bend. So you see this thing, light can bend in many situations actually. Light can bend, it can slow down. When we mention that the speed of light is a constant, so we actually mention it that as of vacuum and in different frames of reference. So we mention it with reference to different frames of reference. So the thing is that it can bend around, it can slow down, it can even stop, and you see form kind of photon ring around a black hole. So that is speaking of relativity. As of classical mechanics, well, yeah, it does bend. Young physicists, when the light is dispersed from a prism, we get different bands of colors. Do these bands have different temperatures? Well, do these bands have different temperatures? I guess it's not really making any sense to describe temperatures of light spectrum, because you see one might be a red light, and red light, what is red light? Well, it's a particular sort of light that you will have for this range of this range of wavelength maybe. So this is all made up of photons if you think of it in the particles perspective. And the thing is that do photons have temperature? Well, temperature is basically defined in the kinetic theory of gases from that perspective, that temperature is correlated with this speed of the random motion at which random motion is occurring in in a macroscopic system, inside a macroscopic system on a microscopic level. So there is no sense to actually define the temperature of light. Now, here is, I am in class 11, the J aspirant. I think my 11th is wasted. Which are the chapter to do complete that I could up in class 12th? Well, the thing is that if you're a J aspirant and you're in class 12th right now, so no, you're in 11th right now, and that's almost wasted. You can still try to cover some chapters that you might find useful. Specifically, I would recommend chapters that will be useful in 12th, not that of, you see, J. You should think of chapters that will be useful in 12th, so that you don't encounter a difficulty in studying 12th physics. So first of all, Newtonian mechanics is, of course, Newtonian mechanics. You need to cover all the chapters well, at least to study Newton's laws of motion, and you need to study kinematics. So that's the basic. And without that, you of course cannot proceed further with physics. So that's the first thing you need to do. Kanishk, what is positron? Well, positron is actually an antiparticle, and it's the antiparticle of electrons. So you might consider of it like this, that you have an electron, and very similar to electron, you have of the very same mass another particle called a positron, but with a positive charge. Same amount of charge as an electron with a positive charge. Now, the thing is that you have this electron and this positron. These are particle antiparticle pairs. And as they come along, you see, and they interact with each other, you'll suddenly find that they annihilate each other. And what you'll find eventually is gamma rays. So this is the concept of a particle antiparticle pair. When you bring them together, they will decay each other. This is not even a decay. They'll merely share out of existence, or they'll be removed out of existence. So, and leaving out gamma rays, because of course energy and matter has to be conserved. So if matter is destroyed, it must come out as in the form of energy. So that energy is released in the form of gamma rays. Shubhanshu's quantum decoherence are true. Well, the thing is that quantum mechanics, as of now, the way it has been described, it has really solved many of the issues and many of our problems in UC that had been previously going unexplained by classical mechanics and relativistic mechanics. And but there is no clear way of to really tell whether quantum mechanics is totally right. But as of now, as of whatever statements it has given to us, we are required to believe that. We are required to believe that and proceed according to that. And maybe in future we discover a better theory. Though I doubt it will be. Indeed, it must be just a mere modification of quantum mechanics to include gravitational effects, maybe. So as of now, whatever we have been told, we have to accept that. I think it can be true. Digital Aman, will you do JEE? Well, I don't have any plans for IIT. Regarding the exam itself, I don't know. Aruna Patil, I like to study in little depth and I'm in a land. I'm in a land. Is it helpful? So imagine asking whether gaining a little more knowledge is helpful. So the thing is that the reason you want to maybe go in IITs, so I'm assuming you want to go in IIT or maybe in IMS or something like that college. And why do you want to go in that? To become an engineer, maybe? Well, you want to become an engineer, and what do you want to do after that? Engineering, of course. So engineering, maybe. So if you have a little more knowledge, a little more depth, so that might increase intelligence, even if the slightest bit, you can become a better engineer by that. So gaining knowledge here isn't an actual problem, unless of course is the situation that you're going completely off your direction, what you intended to do. So even in that case, you can just shift your aim maybe, and you want to do that what you want to do. So gaining knowledge isn't a problem. Just be you see, be sure that that shouldn't ruin your preparation or future plans maybe. Young physicists, do you have any theory or idea at present in which you're going to work on future? And why would you think that I would actually say about any kind of idea in a public stream? So I don't think I would, or I don't think anyone with an actual idea would. ZDF, oh Sarim Bhaiya, what's your goal? Well, of course, it's research in physics, know as much as about it as possible in a lifetime, and maybe mathematics if I'm done with that. Unknown, are you not interested in sports? If you got a chance to play sports for your country, then you will play and continue your journey in it for long. Well, I'm not interested in sports and I wouldn't play actually and continue my journey in that. Just no. Young physicist, no, even I have 24 theories and two wanted to be a physicist in future. I'll be working on these theories to prove them. Young physicist, I don't have anyone to whom I can discuss physics. Well, that's certainly is an issue. Well, you want to gain more ideas, you want more ideas, then then of course you need to discuss it with someone and you gain more ideas. So regarding the 24 theories, of course, I'm not sure unless you mathematically prove them. So, but you did make a statement about Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, and just the fact you made a statement about that. So I guess you'll be willing to tell it in here in the chat. So if you could write it out and maybe we could discuss here. Ramakant Dwivedi, will humanity will exist for absolute time with the help of science? Well, absolutely infinite time, that is not basically, I don't think that's so possible. Jai Singh, IIT Kharagpur, in future you're gonna replace Newton and Einstein. Well, I deeply appreciate the compliment here, but I don't think I'm gonna replace Newton or Einstein. But maybe if I can, so I would really like to make my own name in physics. Because this life that we have is for studying physics, right? For knowing about this universe as much as you possibly can. What else even matters? Uh, रोनी सारिम, तुमने कोई क्वेश्चन या फॉर्मूला खोजा अभी तक? झूठ ना बोलना, ना ही शर्माना. Well, there is nothing to be ashamed of in this. I haven't found any question yet on my own self. If you're talking about another fundamental question or maybe something like that important, so I haven't. Uh, Shuvradeep Lahiri 28. What would happen if light traveled a bit slower? Well, depends. You see that light travels at a certain fixed speed, and if light traveled a little bit slower, so that there might be actually two different. So here, what might basically happen? Oh, wait a minute. What might basically happen that it might be that the cosmic limit of the speed of the universe might be lesser. In that case, gravitational waves and all these things all would simultaneously travel at slower speed than light. But if it is individually light that travels slower, well, in that case, it would be that light just travels slower. We can do nothing about that. We can perceive things, of course, at a slower rate. But gravitational waves would be faster than light in that case. So gravity would travel faster than the speed of light, but it wouldn't violate the laws of physics, of course, because the speed of light is it is the speed of light that is actually the cosmic limit of speed. Not light itself has any meaning or connection to that. It just travels that speed. Wait a minute. Check. I think there's some. No, there isn't. Okay. So Kushagra Pandey, your comment on time. Well, time is something that is very basic to us as as a natural instinct. Maybe you might want to say. In physics, it has more of a deep meaning and a deep sense. You see, so it is more like a dimension to us, a kind of dimension in which things go, in which things move, and everything moves through time. and not everything except leaving out one thing: photons. That is the particles of light. They don't age. Particles of light never age. So time is basically like a dimension that everything moves through. Jai Singh IIT Kharagpur, please ask to your father what he want to see you in future. What you want to see me as in future.
नो मीन्स मैं इनको पूरी तरह से फ्री कर दिया हूँ, कभी ये नहीं कहता कि बेटा तुमको ये बनना है या ये करना है या ये पढ़ना है, ठीक है। ये शुरू से ही अपने हिसाब से दोनों बच्चे एकदम पूरी तरह से हमारे साइड से फ्री हैं, जो कुछ भी करना है। हाँ, लेकिन वो मतलब डिफरेंट होना चाहिए, बस इतना कहता हूँ। तो इनका यही है कि फिजिक्स पढ़ते हैं, फिजिक्स से रिलेटेड साइंटिस्ट बनने का इनका सपना है, बने अपना, बस। हम अपने साइड से नहीं कहते हैं कि आपको ये करना है या ये बनना है, कुछ नहीं, मेरे साइड से कुछ नहीं है। जो कुछ भी करना है इनको करना है, लेकिन हाँ, कुछ बिल्कुल नहीं होना चाहिए, बस।
Hemant Singh, Sarim should do BSc with physics honors. Well, that's what I'm intending to do. Adarsh Yadav, your class, well, 9th standard currently. Ritesh Shah, how much you sleep daily? So I really don't understand why do everyone want to know about how many hours do you sleep daily, what time I sleep, whether I sleep in noon or not, or just sleep habits. Well, you see, it's different for and it's different for everyone. You see, your sleep habits, and they don't define you much. But I guess waking up early in morning is kind of beneficial. रोनी, सारे मैथ में कोई फॉर्मूला खोजा तुमने? वेल नो, नॉट येट. Manmohan Gautam, listen up, bro. I have my JEE means after few days. Can you give me some suggestions, please? Well, if you have your JEE means after some days, so I could give you some suggestions. Like try revising the formulas and stuff. Because if you have your formulas in handy, so you could they serve as handy if you have them all memorized. So you could basically directly put in the values and make the calculations and just get the result. And the thing is that must also kind of revise the concepts. You see, understanding the concepts is really beneficial because they often let you just get through your intuition the solutions of particular problems. So understanding the concepts is also really important. Here there is Jai Singh IIT Kharagpur. Please come to meet me in Gopalganj. Well, if I visit Gopalganj, I will meet you then. Hello, light. By the way, can you prove Riemann hypothesis? Okay, so I need to say on this, just today I watched a YouTube short where I saw there was Terence Tao, and he told that why not even he is trying to prove Riemann hypothesis. And the thing is that it's like no matter how talented you are, no matter how smart you are, or how quick you are, how witty you are, the thing is you might not have the right tools to do that particular thing. And when you don't have the right tools, you can't do it. So even he told that he doesn't think that there are right enough tools available for proving the hypothesis. So not even Terence Tao is trying to prove Riemann hypothesis, and maybe he does in the future because he really has great many contributions in mathematics. He has a field medal, and he's considered the Mozart of mathematics, of course. But I'm not trying to prove, and I don't think I can, because I'm not even in mathematics at that level or at that interest. रोनी सारिम क्या कर रहे हो भाई? ना मैथ में फॉर्मूला खोजा ना फिजिक्स में। तुम्हारी एज के रामानुजन ने ढेरों फॉर्मूला खोज डाले थे और 32 साल की एज में मर गए और इमॉर्टल हो गए। Well, the thing is that yeah, I haven't found a formula in physics or mathematics yet, and I, of course, am not as gifted as Srinivasa Ramanujan. So, with great respect, the thing is, I haven't found any formulas, and I don't think I'm in any position right now to make that kind of groundbreaking discoveries. But if maybe you could provide any kind of, you see, such kind of thought that will help me in this particular thing, so maybe I would. So I'd be glad to accept any such thought from you. And Lolite, by the way, Fermat's last theorem is kind of similar to Pythagoras theorem. Well, yeah, except the inequality, I suppose, or was there? So it does seem kind of similar to Pythagoras theorem. Who is really father of physics? Nikita Rathi. Father of physics, I would give the title to Newton if I were to. Isaac Newton, I would say. Okay. Aruna Patil, why does not pressure at some depth of liquid? At some depth of liquid. Wait. Yeah, also depend on its temperature. So if you're asking me whether why the pressure doesn't depend on temperature, so it does depend on temperature, of course, the temperature of the liquid. So you're wrong about that, or maybe I'm mistaken by the question due to some grammatical error in that. And like Nikola Tesla, I consider him as most respectable scientist in physics. And the thing is, Nikola Tesla was not a physicist. He was not a physicist. He didn't make any contributions in physics. Tesla was an engineer. He was an inventor. He was not a physicist. In fact, he even declined to to even consider Einstein's theory of relativity, to accept relativity. He thought that relativity was just mathematical garbage, which of course he was wrong about. Musfika Ahmed, why all your videos are scripted? Well, maybe I am just sitting right here and answering your questions, various questions on physics and mathematics and discussing. So if you still think all my videos are scripted, well then just think there might be a defect. Maybe I'm not so sure about that. Why monopoles do not exist, Santoshi Chaudhary? Now, monopoles don't exist because magnetism can be explained by electric charges. So you don't even need magnetic charges now. So if this can be explained, we could still have magnetic charges, of course. But the thing is that monopoles, which are, of course, hypothetically magnetic charges, so magnetism, the effect of magnetism can be explained using relativity. Using relativity, you could surely explain how magnetism arises in materials. And how does it arise? Well, it is certainly due to what you call length contraction. Due to length contraction, I know at first it might not seem that it's related to electrodynamics in any sense, but you know that relativity is related to electrodynamics in the sense that Maxwell's equations are invariant under Lorentz transformation, which are the one of the basic equations of relativity under which relativity works. So here you find that due to Lorentz contraction in some materials, it is charge density that changes even in materials so that move, and you will find a change in the charge density, and suddenly you have an extra electric field due to that. And what is that electric field? Is the magnetic field. Magnetic field is nothing but a relativistic correction of electric field. And since it is nothing but a relativistic correction of electric field, an electric young physicist, can you tell me the list of physicists at the current time whose research paper on the following topics? Theoretical physics, quantum mechanics, and fluid mechanics. Uh, theoretical physics, well, theoretical physics does cover quantum mechanics and even fluid mechanics, if you see, unless you count something like Navier-Stokes equation. So I would say I'm just answering about theoretical physics because that covers quantum mechanics and all these things, that and fluid mechanics, even if you have mentioned, or any other kind of topic. So it depends on what level you're willing to go. If you're just wanting to start from very basic level, so maybe read Schrodinger's and Einstein's and Bohr's or Born's original papers on quantum mechanics as of that time. And then if you're reading that, so you might basically see that how quantum mechanics came about to be in this form, or Feynman's paper on his path integral formulation, Einstein's 1935 paper, which is one of the most famous of quantum mechanics. If you're looking at right now the researches that are being happening, so there are like lots of papers being published. You can just find out, you would see that there was news that a new kind of quantum theory of gravity has been discovered from a certain physicist, by a certain physicist from University College of London. So you might just read that paper. Jai Singh, IIT Kharagpur, does the teacher have right to give homework to a homeless kid? Well, that is certainly dark. So I don't think that a kid would attend schools maybe, or tuitions. So if that's the answer, Cardo Castle, explain quantum mechanics in single word. Explain quantum mechanics in single word. Well, how do I do that? Let's go with non-relativistic version of quantum mechanics. So as of the time of 1927, by the time it was there, if I would try to explain it with a single word, let's opt for an equation. I would say h caret of psi equals E times psi. And that is the Schrodinger's time independent wave equation. Again, it doesn't cover everything, but that was my best try. The thing is, you cannot explain quantum mechanics in a single word. No, that's not just not possible. That it's a really bizarre theory, and you have to change your entire conceptions of reality or down to sense. It cannot be possible to explain with a single word. So I gave you a single equation and complete because it is only time independent and it is non-relativistic. And let alone the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. By the way, I think Schrodinger cat is like joke and lolite. Well, it of course is. I mean, Schrodinger's cat. It is not really a kind of quantum state, is it? Because a cat is like a macroscopic object, so you won't see those kind of quantum fluctuations. And now, not as of the exact sense of quantum fluctuations, but that kind of randomness in the macroscopic level. So it was just a kind of intuitive way to explain quantum mechanics, to describe how bizarre the theory can be. So it is not like Schrodinger's cat, something like that is exactly happening, because you can always predict with more than 50% accuracy whether the cat is going to die or whether it is not going to die. The accuracy is often more than 50%. So there you have it. Now it is something kind of You might treat it as a quantum state and solve various kinds of equations based on it, that of its state of being alive or dead, but it is not in the most strict sense a cat that is actually exists. फिजिक्स एंड नेचर इतना इंग्लिश क्यों बोलते हैं? इंडिया की लैंग्वेज क्यों नहीं बोलता? तुझे इंग्लिश आती है इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि सबको आती है इंग्लिश का पट्टू. वेल द थिंग इज कि इंग्लिश बेसिकली ज्यादा लोगों को आती है कंपेयर्ड टू हिंदी, बिकॉज देयर माइट बी सम, क्योंकि ऐसा भी कोई पर्सन हो सकता है जिसे हिंदी उतनी अच्छे से समझ नहीं आती. वेल इन दैट पर्टिकुलर केस ऑफ कोर्स इंग्लिश ज्यादा वाइड रेंज ऑफ पीपल को कवर करती है. Young physicist, I want to read currently published research paper. Like once in your Srinagar lecture, you told it's impossible to read all research papers. So tell me the names of best physicists of current time. Again, depends on the particular topic that you're interested in. You're interested in string theory? Well, then read Witten's paper, Edward Witten's paper on it, maybe, or Michio Kaku's or Brian Greene's, maybe. Particle physics. So you can search up for some famous particle physicists. So I'm not naming any right now. You might read Brian Cox's research papers on it, if that is, of course, that is, I mean. So depends on what particular topic you're interested in. Because there are so many research papers that are being published. You want to go in biophysics? Well, then read some from a biophysicist. Okay. A passenger in a moving train tosses a coin and it always falls to his left. Describe the motion of the train. Ramakant Dwivedi. So, if the passenger is tossing the coin and it always falls to his left, well, depends on which direction is the passenger is standing on. So, if he's standing something like parallel to the trains, how do I even describe the direction? So let's say the train is passing here and the passenger is standing in the same composition as I am doing right now. In that particular case, it is certainly possible to describe the motion of the train, because it falls to his left. It means the train is accelerating in this direction. So the train accelerates in this direction. That can be said about it. Or if I'm standing right now and the train is lying, the track is along this axis, so it falls to the left, it means the train has to go right here, which is certainly not possible for a train to go in this direction while it is extended over this length. So assuming that it is the way I previously told, it's that the train is accelerating in that particular direction. Jason, hit yourself and it hurts. Does this make you strong or weak? Ask this question from your father. If you hit yourself and it hurts, does it make you strong or weak?
No idea.
Well, it certainly makes you an idiot. Muhammad Imran Bowler, you have grown up child prodigy. So what next? What next is again just a more proper understanding of the universe. That's it. So just I'm planning for researches in physics in future. A BSc, MSc, PhD. That's what I'm planning for. Midway, whatever I could possibly find, I would try my best to. Jasmine Firdoz, 95% पीपल आर गोइंग बिकॉज वो आपसे हिंदी में क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहते हैं और आपकी इंग्लिश सुनकर लाइव से हट रहे हैं. मेरे बहुत सारे फ्रेंड ने बोला मुझसे. सो अगर आपको हिंदी में क्वेश्चन पूछना है सो ऑफ कोर्स यू आर फ्री. आप हिंदी में क्वेश्चंस पूछ सकते हैं एंड मैं ट्राई करूंगा हिंदी में आंसर देने की. So of course आप तो पूछ सकते हैं, and there is nothing wrong with that. And I never said कि यहाँ पे हिंदी allowed नहीं है. You go to school daily, Gudiya Zan? Well, not now. Not now. Bro, how to understand or visualize the topics of energy, because there's an unimaginable thing, Pratik. And it is something abstract, and what you're basically doing right here is assigning with every system a particular number, energy, a particular number that describes the state of system. And I always explain it this way: it's an abstract number that can describe how a system is existing about or moving about or configured about. So you cannot exactly imagine energy, and it is not possible to visualize energy or to imagine it. But you can certainly try to imagine its effects and try to explain them through mathematical equations or inverse, maybe. So you have a ball and you will drop it. You can think of it in this terms, that as you drop it, it goes down, and you can say that it goes down, the it gains kinetic energy. As it goes down, it speeds up, and with speed is related its energy of motion, so that is kinetic energy. So you might think that it gains kinetic energy, it must lose some other form of energy, because of course energy is conserved. So what's that form of energy? Well, that's potential energy, so it loses potential energy. So there's no proper way to describe this particular kind of thing, to visualize this, but yeah, you can describe it and think in terms of this. All right, now Cardo Castle, is multiverse theory true? Well, it hasn't been proven yet, but there is certainly an interpretation of quantum mechanics which relies on the concept of multiverse, of infinite many universes, so many different universes, infinite to be very honest. But you cannot know whether that interpretation is true or not, because quantum mechanics, you might say a true theory because it is explaining this, and that interpretations of quantum mechanics, it's like no, you cannot prove whether it is wrong. That's the average interpretation, the many worlds interpretation. So, but as of you see string theory, so it does tell us about the multiverse. M theory does tell us about the multiverse, but you see M theory isn't proved yet either. So Ramakant Divedi, you got confused along circular track with uniform in clockwise direction. Well, yeah, that certainly is an option. Good, Zan, what is your school routine? Well, I said that I don't go to school. I'm not going to school these days. Should I prefer MIT B integration questions for JEE and Lolite? Well, it will certainly help. Like the more integration techniques and methods you learn, it's always uh, it's always good to learn more of them, and I think they will certainly help for JEE. Vijay, reply please. Can you start physics from HC Verma again with brief explanation, please? Well, I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon. Physics and nature. What are your things about quantum dots? Professor Bhivandi. I don't know about quantum dots yet. So if you could explain it in here, so I'd be glad about that. Please still will you give the Adarsh Yadav? I'm not sure about that. Cardo Castle, what happened to sun or a star after its death? Well, depends how the death occurs. So it might turn into a black hole if it has the mass above Chandrasekhar limit. And if it doesn't, it might end up as a neutron star or a white dwarf star. So there are basically many different possibilities for occurring. So the three, I'm telling you three of them, and that is either a white dwarf star or a neutron star, or maybe with enough mass it becomes a black hole. Adarsh Yadav, if you love physics, why not you give NSCP? First, not eligible according to ACE criteria yet. So that's the first thing you need to understand. Second thing, I might give NSCP. I'm not very sure about that. I want to show you my math theorem. Can I contact you, Lolite? Well, you could certainly mail, and you can find the mail address in the description section of the channel. Give tips for how to start physics in your opinion, Vijay. To start physics, well, you need to first of all familiarize yourself with a little bit of mathematics. And familiarizing yourself with little bit of mathematics, it certainly helps. So familiarize yourself with little bit of mathematics, read about Newton and Einstein's, not Einstein certainly. So in case you want to go for popular science or maybe Einstein's, you need to start from the very basics. Like you need to understand how mathematics describes physics. You need to basically understand Newton's laws. So that's what's happening. Nobel Prize मिला है उनको for discovery of quantum dots. Akash, oh no, this was by the sign. Sorry, physics and nature. Okay, so they got Nobel Prize, but what are quantum dots? I don't know. So if you could explain it here, please do. Ramakant Divedi, have you given an IQ test? Well, I haven't. And L Lolite, are you going for JE or research? Well, obviously research. Uh, Anand Krishna, how does the existence of dark matter challenge our current understanding of the universe, and what implications might it have for the nature of space, time, and cosmic evolution? Well, you see that we are not able to clearly describe dark matter yet, but we do know that it constitutes a really great part of matter and energy in our universe. So the fact that it hasn't been explained yet certainly means that there is certainly a kind of hole, a kind of gap in our understanding of the universe, of cosmology, of astrophysics, very particularly. So maybe with even with our current understanding of physics, we might be able to understand dark matter, but we haven't been able to understand it yet because we are not willing to take a leap of faith, maybe. Because you see that special relativity, it has so basic mathematics, well, just basic algebra and little bit of basic calculus, and yet it took over 300 years to switch from Newtonian mechanics to special relativity. And why is that so? Because no one would be willing to take such a leap of faith that length contracts during motion and time dilates. So maybe there's a not complete understanding of universe as of right now to our scientists, to us. Okay. Akash Joshi, can you please explain Newton's sum and Fourier's transformation? Well, that certainly gets to mathematics. I I guess I do know what's something called Fourier's transformation. I'm not very good with names. So I guess I do know it, but which one was it? I don't even remember, specifically in mathematics. The scientific Z, can you explain quantum fluctuation? Oh, sorry, vacuum fluctuations at root, but I suppose you're talking about quantum fluctuations only. So the thing is, you don't even need quantum field theory for this. Uh, for this, you can even explain it using non-relativistic quantum mechanics. And what it says is that if you state the uncertainty principle in terms of energy and time, so you can write this such that the uncertainty and energy times uncertainty in time is always greater than or equal to h bar, the modified Planck's constant, over 2. So what this means is that there, of course, always has to be some uncertainty in the values of energy and time. And how does this relate with her picture of the universe according to quantum mechanics? Well, think of it in this way, that there's this region of space right here. So at every point in space, there will be uncertainty in values of energy. And energy at any point, even in vacuum, cannot possibly be zero, because that would tell you that this value is lesser than h bar over 2. It's 0, and that's lesser than h bar over 2. And that cannot happen according to uncertainty principle. So that certainly tells you there is always uncertainty in these values. But how is it that there can be uncertainties? You might explain it that there are these fluctuations, that is quantum fluctuations, that you're constantly having energy at one point. So you're seeing that energy, basically you'll find that suddenly a kind of energy is created at this point. Doesn't that violate conservation of energy? Well, no, because this is for a very short period of time, and this period of time depends on how much uncertainty and energy there is according to the equation mentioned beforehand. So that's, you have fluctuations in energy values. And Lolite, how do you study? Do you studies by any specific resource? Well, I just study from books, and I don't specifically watch lectures or anything. Jaising IIT Kharagpur, which topic do you think in physics that's very hard to understand? It's certainly quantum mechanics, because intuition, you see normal, the way you have familiarized yourself with classical mechanics and even relativistic mechanics, you might develop some intuition for that. You may develop some intuition for that, but quantum mechanics will always be presenting you with more obstacles in the way of your intuition. So quantum mechanics is hard to understand, maybe not so hard to solve, but I still find that solving Schrodinger's equation kind of feels a drag. But quantum mechanics, I would certainly say. And when it gets to quantum field theory, well, then that's certainly something out of this world. Actually, in our world, because it explains our world, but on a very quantum level. And Lolite, bro, rotational motion is hardest. Certainly, no. Rotational motion is not the hardest topic. Quantum mechanics, I would say, is, and that most people would agree with that. And in fact, relativity, I would say, is harder than quantum mechanics, at least mathematically. So, general relativity, to say special relativity, is quite easy to comprehend, I would say. General relativity is harder than quantum mechanics to solve, I would say, or to understand the equations. Quantum mechanics, you cannot familiarize yourself with that because you're not there as a quantum particle. So I would say quantum mechanics and general relativity. When it gets to quantum field theory, well, that's even harder. So these three, I would say. And another thing might be that fluid mechanics is also quite hard to comprehend. Not comprehend, but fluid mechanics is kind of hard to solve. And you have the problem of turbulence always there. Hello, Sarim Khan, Physics and Nature. Quantum dots are tiny particles that exhibit unique optical properties due to their small physical size. I see. So that's quantum optics. I see. And low light fluid mechanics is easiest. Well, that's a big no. Fluid mechanics, you might find that it is easy as given in J syllabus or something. So I hear that fluid mechanics as given in J syllabus, you might find, yeah, you have Pascal's law and you have Bernoulli's law and something like that. And whatever these Bernoulli's theorem, and you can relate velocity and area as A1 V1 equals A2 V2. But fluid mechanics is one of the definitely one of the hardest topics of physics that you may come across. Of course, there's the Navier-Stokes equation, which is a fluid mechanics equation that is still unsolved right now, and it's one of the 7 millennium problems. And you have the problem of turbulence. That's the oldest unsolved problem of physics. So fluid mechanics is not the easiest topic of physics. It's indeed one of the hardest topics of physics. It's that the syllabus that you have been provided with in 11th and 12th physics, or even in JE level physics, is quite easy, and it barely scratches the surface of this broad area of physics, fluid mechanics. Velocity vector. What about thermal physics? Well, thermal physics, as I would say, that understanding from a non-relativistic and non-quantum point of view is quite easy. So it is easy to understand, and it's also quite fun to imagine the kinetic theory of gases, how every kind of you see all these um, and you see that this kind of temperature that you see around yourself, and this thermal energy is just a result of the kinetic energy and speeds of all these random molecules bouncing here and there inside this room, of course. So inside this room you'll find that there are random molecules bouncing here and there, and they're constantly hitting us and hitting all this, and due to that you have pressure and temperature in the air due to the air. So it's going to quite fun to think going on a relativistic or quantum level. So you might think in terms of quantum entropy, that gets a little bit difficult, but thermal physics without understanding it on a quantum level, maybe. So that is certainly even fun to do. Well, physics is in any way fun to imagine, of course. And Lolite bro, that Aerodome and J 2017 advanced of rotation is one of the hardest questions. So again, it's not the hardest topic. You may frame a hardest question out of any topic. The hardest question may be framed out of any topic. And it is always that rotational motion uses lots of different, you see, it uses energy conservation, Newton's laws, and many different topics all at once. But it is certainly difficult to solve and maybe all this thing, but it is not the most difficult topic of physics. No way it is. Cardo Castle, when a star dies, then what happened to the planets and object revolving around it? Well, depends again on how it dies, and the way it dies, it becomes a black hole. They all might get devoured by the star. Of course, depends on size. So many details have to be there in order to find it out exactly. अंकुर अंकुर क्लास 9 से आईटी की तैयारी कैसे करें? Well, you can certainly watch the first few minutes of the live streaming where the first question I answered was about this only. What is difference between velocity and speed, lightning man? Well, it's something like this, that velocity you see is the speed with direction, as basic as that. The speed with direction. You talk about average values, that's a different thing. Velocity and speed, it's a speed with direction, that's the velocity. Hello, Light. By the way, why you hate maths? Well, of course, I don't hate maths. That can't be happening. Mathematics is the language with which you are communicating to nature, of course, because it's the way you do physics. Quantum dots is topic of chemistry, but I can't understand to bottom physics and nature. Well, if it is topic of chemistry, it might be a topic of quantum chemistry. You need to understand certainly quantum mechanics and all that to understand about quantum dots if it is a topic of chemistry. Priya Dubey, in which class you are? Right now in 9th standard. Rudra Raghunathan. Hey man, wish me luck for JEE 2025. Well, all the best for that. And I guess I'll be stopping then.
Okay. अब डिनर उनर लिया जाए.
Lol, by the way, I think you're kind of biased for physics. Well, it isn't as abstract as mathematics and as realistic as engineering either. So, of course, I am biased for physics. That is something I would gladly accept. But I like mathematics as well. There's nothing wrong with that. But mathematics, that will help me in doing more physics and understand the nature. Mathematicians, on the other hand, can be developing, continue to develop questions that might help physicists to understand nature better. That was all for today's stream of mine. And bye and good night to all the viewers.